Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, you've given us a stack of sources covering two really remarkable moments of profound commitment.
They seem pretty disconnected at first glance, don't they?
Yeah, totally. On one hand, we have this high-stakes political drama in ancient Babylon, all about, refusing to eat certain food.
And on the other, a very quiet, almost invisible moment of giving in the temple in Jerusalem.
Exactly. So our mission today is to dig into that and figure out what the true measure of worth really is.
That's a question. Is it about physical discipline, like we see with Daniel,
Right.
or does it come from something more internal, like the sacrifice of the poor widow? We're looking at how conviction just consistently defies what you'd expect.
Okay, so let's jump in. The first story starts with, a political earthquake. We're in the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah.
And this is not a peaceful time. King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon has laid siege to Jerusalem, and he's won.
He takes the city.
And the conquest was, it was total. The source says the Lord handed over the king, but there's a crucial detail in there.
Nebuchadnezzar doesn't just take the people. He takes vessels from the temple of God and puts them in the temple treasury of his God.
In the land of Shinar. That detail, Shinar, that's really key, isn't it?
Oh, it's huge. This isn't just looting. It's a statement, a theological victory lap.
You're putting the symbols of your enemy's God in the house of your God.
Exactly. It's the ultimate tower move. And for Israel, Shinar has this historical weight. It's the land of the Tower of Babel. It symbolizes human pride against God.
So the message is crystal clear. Our empire just captured your God.
Pretty much. So with the stakes that high, the king makes his next move, cultural capture. He tells Ashpenaz, his chief chamberlain, to go find specific young men from Israel's royal and noble families.
So he's not just taking random prisoners, he's targeting the future leaders.
Right. And this isn't just about detention. It's basically a talent acquisition program. He's trying to co-opt them.
And the criteria are incredibly specific. Yeah, look at this list. Without defect. Handsome, intelligent, wise, quick to learn, prudent in judgment. They were grooming them for the palace.
Babylon isn't trying to destroy the Jewish elite. They're trying to convert them.
To make them Babylonian loyalists.
It sounds like the most intense internship imaginable. 3 years of mandatory training in Chaldean language and literature.
And after that, they go straight into the king's inner circle. They're meant to literally speak, write, and think like they're conquerors.
And among this elite group from Judah, we have Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah.
Yep. They're now right in the heart of the empire, and they have a choice. Rise high or, completely lose who they are.
And this is where Daniel draws his line in the sand. And it's kind of surprisingly over the menu, isn't it?
It seems that way on the surface.
The king gives them this generous daily portion of food and wine straight from the royal table. But Daniel is resolute. He decides he will not defile himself.
And we really need to unpack that word defilement. It's not just about being a picky eater. The royal food almost certainly violated Jewish dietary laws. But maybe even more importantly, that food and wine would have been dedicated to Babylonian idols before being served.
Ah, okay. So eating the food wasn't just enjoying a nice meal.
It's an act of worship.
To the gods of Babylon. It was a symbol of total submission.
Precisely. So Daniel is making a stand, both political and spiritual, but he frames it as a simple dietary request. He goes to the chamberlain, Ashpenaz, and basically begs him.
And Ashpenaz is terrified, which just shows you how high the stakes were.
Right. The text says God gave Daniel favor, but that doesn't help much if the king's prize recruits start looking malnourished.
Yeah, Ashpenaz says, if you guys look worse than the others, the king will have my head.
And this is where Daniel shows that wisdom he was selected for. He offers this brilliant workaround. He doesn't make demands. He proposes an experiment.
The famous test your servants for 10 days proposal.
Exactly.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
He turns a theological crisis into a data-driven trial. So what was the diet for this experiment?
Vegetables to eat and water to drink.
That's it?
That's it. And think about the risk. The royal table has rich, calorie-dense food designed to optimize these trainees. Daniel is suggesting they swap that for, basically pulses and water.
A modern nutritionist would say they were sabotaging themselves.
Completely. It's a massive gamble. But
Right.
this is where the narrative completely flips the script.
Right. Because after 10 days, Daniel and his friends looked healthier and better fed than any of the young men who were eating the royal food.
They didn't just survive on this diet, they thrived. Their internal commitment produced a visible external superiority.
So the steward has no choice but to let them continue. basically signing off on their religious protest.
And the results went beyond just the physical. The ultimate reward was intellectual. God gave the four of them knowledge and skill in the literature and science. And Daniel specifically gets the ability to understand visions and dreams.
Their discipline led to a kind of hyperintelligence.
You could say that. And when they're finally brought before Nebuchadnezzar, the king's assessment is just astounding. He finds them 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters in his entire kingdom.
Wow. 10 times better. That's not a small margin.
It's a quantitative declaration of their value. Their commitment to their principles didn't cost them their career. It made them indispensable.
It's such a powerful idea that refusing luxury for conviction can actually lead to this massive strategic advantage.
It really is. And that story sets up a measure of commitment based on, physical dedication, purity, a refusal to compromise.
Okay, so let's transition now. We're going to shift from commitment measured in knowledge to commitment measured in resources, in generosity.
Right. We're moving across time and space, from the court of Babylon all the way to the temple treasury in Jerusalem, with Jesus watching.
And the pressure here isn't political, it's economic.
Jesus is just sitting there watching as these wealthy people come up and put large offerings into the treasury. These are big, public, impressive donations.
The kind of thing that keeps the temple running.
Exactly. But then his focus shifts. He sees a poor widow come up, and she puts in 2 small coins. What were these coins exactly?
They're described as mites sometimes.
Yeah, 2 lepta, the smallest copper coin in circulation. I mean, we're talking about the equivalent of a few pennies. Barely anything.
Economically, it's a rounding error compared to what the rich were giving. And yet, Jesus makes this absolutely shocking declaration. He says she put in more than all the rest.
And that just doesn't make sense, does it? How does that math work?
It doesn't, not in normal terms.
And this is where Jesus just completely inverts the metric of value. He breaks down the source of the offering. The wealthy, he says, they gave from their surplus. Their excess.
It didn't cost them anything essential.
Nothing. It was a gift of convenience from their abundance. But the widow,
She was different.
from her poverty, she offered her whole livelihood.
Her whole livelihood. So she gave everything she had to live on for that day.
It was probably the money for her next meal. It's an act of total, radical faith over her own immediate security.
That completely changes the focus from the amount given to the amount kept.
Precisely. It's not about what's in the temple's bank account. It's about what's left in the donors.
So was he just praising her? Or was this also a critique of the system that valued those big, showy donations?
Oh, it was absolutely a critique. The temple authorities loved those large gifts from the wealthy. It reinforced their status. Jesus just exposed the hollowness of giving from excess.
It's a lesson in valuing the small acts, I suppose.
Well, it shows that true generosity isn't measured by the amount, but by the love and the sacrifice behind it.
Yeah, the reflection source we have really hammers this home. It says that even tiny sacrifices offered with devotion have immense value.
Right. Her gift is an invitation to give not from our surplus, but from a place of real faith and gratitude. She gave her entirety. The wealthy just gave a percentage of their convenience.
So if we put Daniel and the widow side by side, you see this incredible through line.
You really do.
Daniel chose purity over comfort and political gain. The widow chose sacrifice over her own economic survival. In both stories, the internal commitment completely outweighs the external measure.
That's the thread that ties them together. Daniel's diet seemed foolish, but his conviction made him 10 times better. The widow's gift was, economically meaningless to the temple, but her sacrifice made it infinitely valuable.
The standard shifts from how much you give to how much you hold back, or I guess how little you hold back.
Exactly. And that focus on the sincerity of the heart, it's echoed in the psalm from our sources.
I will praise the Lord with all my heart.
With all my heart. It's about the totality of that inner commitment, whether you're standing up to a king or just giving away your last 2 coins.
So the key insight here is the real, measurable power of deep conviction.
I think so. Daniel's discipline led to this intellectual triumph. The widow's generosity redefined the very meaning of wealth. In both cases, simple, sincere commitment outclassed institutional power and luxury.
It really forces you to rethink your own metrics for success, for generosity, for everything.
If your small sacrifice is deemed greater than a huge surplus gift, where should you be focusing your energy?
And that idea connects directly to that call to vigilance we see in the sources. Stay awake. for you do not know when the Son of Man will come.
Yeah, that preparedness isn't just about waiting around. It's about making sure your actions today, right now, reflect that sincerity of conviction.
Which brings us to the final, provocative question that the source reflection leaves us with.
Go on.
What simple act of sacrificial generosity, whether it's in your time, your discipline, your resources, what can you offer today to show that your heart belongs fully to your deepest convictions?
That is a powerful thought to carry forward.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive, holding on to that final line of praise from the psalm that seems to cover it all.
Glory and praise forever.
Wherever that sincerity is found.